Will Howard led Ohio State to the national championship during the 2024 college football season. On today's episode, we're going to build the scheme around him so he can help lead an NFL team to the Super Bowl. That and more coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I am an offensive draft analyst with Bleacher Report, and that's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He is the director of scouting with the Draft Network and 2019 national champion for those LSU Tigers. And guys, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. We got a good show for you. We're building the scheme for Ohio State's national championship winning quarterback, Will Howard. What does that look like? And we're going to talk about some team fits as well in the 2025 NFL Draft for Will Howard. Day 3 wide receivers with some upside, and then bringing back a classic, Dame's Dudes. Keith gets to put me on the hot seat, and I got to decide, are they in the club or they got to go back home? Let's get into it, guys. But before we talk about that, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Your guy, Keith, one of your favorite prospects in this class, a guy I like a lot too, and Will Howard, man, from Ohio State, transferred from Kansas State to Ohio State, big time money in the NIL, 6'4", 236, 32-inch arms, 9 inches on the hand, won the national championship, led them, had one of the best probably postseason runs we've seen from a quarterback in college football and everything for the playoffs and leading to the national championship game. If you're on the staff, Keith, like we know we've been doing with Jackson Dart, with Jalen Milroe, what offense would you build schematically around Will Howard to make sure he succeeds at the next level?
Yeah, so with Will, DP, he's probably the most difficult one that we've done so far. And I know we've done Jalen, we've done Jackson Dart. And the reason I say that is because I think that Will is that ball of clay that people want. And the arm talent, when you watch the Oregon game, you watch a couple of both of the Oregon games, right? Then you watch I think the Tennessee game also. You see some real like arm talent that this guy can push the ball vertical, right? But he's also a guy that's strong enough to where you're running that flood concept, right? In that out route, like when that number one wide receiver clears out and that number 2 is running, running that out route, like he can drive that throw, right? And really put it in a tight window. So I think I don't know if I want to say, DP, that he's necessarily a West Coast type of guy, but I do want him to push the ball vertical. And some of the play callers that I think, and this guy is retired, right? But I kept thinking about Bruce Arians when he says, no risk it, no biscuit, right? Like take it, launch it, let's figure it out. I think that's an offense that he can do well in, right? A offense that is not necessarily a lateral offense. It's a vertical offense, and I think he'll do well with that, given his wide receivers one-on-one opportunities, right? He threw to the freshman Jeremiah Smith, just hitting those skinny posts, things like that. I think there's still so much more to pull from Will. I know he played a lot of football, but even this season, the first 5 games, they virtually played nobody, right? So did he have to showcase all of his arm talent? No, but you seen big lights, big moments, playoffs, this guy showed up, right? And I think if you put it on a couple players to why Ohio State won the championship, you have to put him, right? Jack Sawyer, and then maybe the running backs, right? As far as Quinshon Judkins and Trevion Henderson as a combo tandem, but definitely a very important part. But yeah, I think a vertical offense that he's pushing the ball vertical, baked in explosive plays, let him get under center, move the pocket, things like that.
Yeah, I think you want to, because watching Ohio State, and I like what Chip Kelly was able to do to him, getting him settled in games early with some of the quick game stuff, some RPO stuff, just allowing him to get the ball out and let the game come to him. I think get the RPO game, whether it's the glance route, the RPO to the bubble screen, and different things like that, where he gets the ball out to the hands of the playmakers. but also getting him. I think we talked about with Jackson Dart, with Jalen Milroe. He can, unlike those guys, he's used to being under center in that offense at times. He gets under center. He's got good footwork there as well. But I want to get him, like, especially in shotgun, and get him in shotgun. Get that, like I said, that's what the RPO game kicks in, at the QB power game, where he's a good athlete, 6'4", almost 240 pounds, like the low red zone. Like, yeah, I'm QB powering him, short yardage situations. Like, I'm going to make him a factor that defensive players have to. It's 11-on-11 football in my opinion, with a guy like Will Howard, because he can, not only can he run the design stuff, but he has enough mobility to create when things break down. So I want to utilize with his legs. I want to get him going with the horizontal game early, like the mesh concepts and different things like that. Mesh with the rail, some spot concepts in the middle of the field, because he does throw the ball effectively and he knows how to layer. Like a lot of big arm quarterbacks struggle with knowing how to just pull some steam off the ball, get it over the defenders, whether it's in the middle of the field or, like, if you run a smash concept, getting it over that cover 3 lurking safety and just float it over to the sideline and let your guys get 2 feet in. He makes throws like that on film as well, so he knows how to differentiate and toggle between velocity and touch. So I like that about his game. So I want to get some of that horizontal stuff, open up with the dagger concept. Let's get some drive throws in the middle of the field, because I think in the NFL, the throws that translate more than anything is the middle of the field between the hash throws. If you can be money there, like, that's where you can open up everything else with your offense. Because if a team goes too high, and that's what we're seeing now, right? We're seeing more too high coverages. So that means what? Middle of the field is open. So you got to be able to hit the middle of the field and make them cover the middle of the field, make them close it, make them go down to cover 1 and have that robber technique jump in the middle between the hashes. Now I can take that one-on-one, and that's where I want him to be able to live in the middle of the field, attack between the hashes. Then we can go ahead and get that scheme up some one-on-ones, get our big-time playmakers who can win vertical, now allow you to push the ball down the field, because of the fact of the matter is, like, being able, because one thing I think with him, he get at times against pressure. I saw him get a little skittish with his footwork. So you want to limit those slow develop. Like, I watching the Colts offense makes me want to throw up, because I'm like, where are the easy buttons? Like, what's the outlets here? Like, we're just 5 to 7 step dropping, chucking it 40. Like, that's not efficient offense. No, let's get the ball in the middle of the field. Let's check it down when we need to. Mesh concept, stuff like that. Screen game, he's really good in the screen. I don't think people give quarterbacks credit for screen game stuff. They need credit for screen game, like the ball fake, the holding the ball, getting it out at the right time, allowing the rush to get there, still getting it out. And with him being 6'4", he can see over the rush as well. And then, like I said, get that vertical game going. Keith, I'm gonna tell you a team I think. I'm not saying round 1. I think he fits Arthur Smith's system with the Pittsburgh Steelers very well.
Oh, DP, I've mocked him to the Steelers twice already. I've done it twice, and people have called me crazy. And guess what, DP? I doubled down on it, baby. I went in the first round. I mocked him to the Steelers in the first round. There's so much to this guy, DP, and there's conversation. You know what? Let's do this. I think, because there's more Will Howard we want to talk about, and I think the people deserve a little bit more Will Howard. So we're gonna transition right now. And coming up next, we're gonna continue to have this conversation of Will Howard, and then we're gonna jump into some day 3 wide receiver prospects with upsides. So we're gonna talk about Will Howard, wide receivers, coming up next.
Imagine watching your favorite team live, feeling the energy of the crowd, and witnessing unforgettable moments. There's nothing like experiencing a big game in person. Getting tickets shouldn't be stressful. That's where Gametime comes in, making it easier than ever to grab last-minute seats at unbeatable prices. Gametime picks curation makes it easier to find better value for tickets to sports, concerts, comedy, theater events, etc. in your local areas. Easy ticket shopping as well. I just checked the Gametime app, and there are amazing deals on some huge matchups coming up. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's Locked On, spelled out LOCKEDON, for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Continuing our conversation about Ohio State quarterback Will Howard, Keith, I see the excitement, that glimmer in your eye when you talk about Will Howard. This seems to be one of your favorite quarterback prospects in the 2025 NFL draft.
Yeah. So the thing with Will is that I see the tools there. I see the tools, and I go back to our conversation, and that's why I said this. I think this was yesterday's podcast that I was like, this is not an Anthony Richardson or Trey Lance or Zach Wilson conversation. This is a reflective look ourselves in the mirror, right? That if you compare Will Howard to Will Levis, why were people willing to buy in on Will Levis going in the first round? And then when you watch what Will Howard does, and this is just my opinion, DP, and you tell me if you agree or not. I think Will Howard is significantly more advanced as a quarterback, instinctual, everything else, and has a big arm, just like Will Levis had. And I see the tools there. And that's why I'm saying if I'm an NFL general manager, right, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I got this quarterback who's 6'4", 230 pounds. He's played a lot of football, right? Played in different schemes, had to adjust. He's mobile, rocket arm, athletic. Won a national championship. I watched him deal with adversity. Why am I not considering drafting this guy if I have a QB need, right? And and not only that's the tools part, DP, but I know that we both look at it, right, and we watch it from a mental part. There are some things for Will Howard that you say, I think he understands how to play quarterback, right? Like just you see him from time to time go through his progressions. He works from 1 to 3, boom, check down. It's not there. Now, there's some inconsistencies, of course, but that's why you have the is it Jesse Palmers and the Jordan Palmers and all of the QB coaches, right, to be able to clean those things up. But I went in on him, DP, and it's funny that you said that because literally the past 2 mock drafts, because I went in depth on Will Howard, and I'm like, no, I like him. I like him a lot. And then I was like, okay, where would I have this guy? And I'm like, he would be a perfect fit. He's from Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania kid. He has that Ben Roethlisberger type of gritty and toughness to him. Big young man, can stand in a pocket and deliver the football. And also Pittsburgh is one of those franchises, DP, that they develop quarterbacks, right? And of recently, it hasn't been that. But historically, they've had good quarterbacks, right? Or they've had a baseline of quarterbacks. So, and Will Howard is one of those guys, because last week or 2 weeks ago, the whole LeBron James, Stephen A situation, and somebody was like, well, quote this, what is LeBron telling Stephen A? And I was like, this QB class is better than what people are saying it is. Like that's what I quoted as. And one of the reasons why is because of Will Howard. So
I like that. He's my QB3 right now. And I wouldn't be shocked if a team. And I've said this. I don't have anything against Jackson Dart. I think Jackson Dart has starter potential. I think he has high starter potential. It's more so like the mental part of the game, but coming out of that offense. It causes a big cause for concern. The same way people are hyping up Jackson Dart, they hyped up Matt Corral for the same exact stuff in that Ole Miss offense. And I saw him at camp. Just Keith, you've coached, you've been on the field at practice. You've seen that young kid come in and his head is swimming. He is trying to tread water. He's trying not to drown because it's a lot for his mental. I saw that with Matt Corral. And now I think he plays in the UFL now. He was thrown at the combine. Like I look at Will Howard, same way I looked at Tyler Shuck when it came on to Jackson Dart. I think both of those guys' game translates better immediately to the NFL from processing information, processing post-snap coverage, rotations of safeties, and does a good job with eye manipulation, holding the guy in the middle of the field because he's throwing that 7 route, like things of that nature. He's in the pocket, he's good. And I think in that, especially now looking at Pittsburgh's a perfect place for him. You got DK Metcalf, and he's an even keel dude, but he's got a little bit of moxie to him because he's like remember going into the Penn State game, he was pissed off because Penn State didn't offer him. Bring the prodigal son home to Pennsylvania. Bring the prodigal son home. I think this is a perfect situation for them.
Yeah, and I'm glad you talked about the Penn State game because I think that's a big game for his evaluation, right? And I think in the first 5-10 plays, he threw the pick six.
Pick six.
Listen, that's a learning lesson, right? Like it was trap coverage. Like you thinking that is man, but I think the corner was IDing too, right? And it was one of those situations. If one goes vertical, the corner is sitting flat, and he's gonna jump the second guy, right? Like that's a trap coverage. Like that's like as much as you give Will Howard and you say, hey, you got to identify that. You get a defensive coordinator credit for calling it, right? And the DB.
And they were prepared because they ran Ohio State ran that same concept almost every game early in games.
Yeah,
they ran that exact
100%.
same concept all the time, like the first drive or two. So that was just good coaching by Penn State to prepare for that.
Yeah, and then also the beginning of the year, and to say this, that he still finished the year, and that's why I give him credit down the stretch, DP, when you're talking about playoff games, right? Tennessee, Oregon, Texas, Notre Dame, right? And the reason I say that is because the first 5 games, they didn't play anybody, right? You had Akron, Western Michigan, Marshall, Michigan State, and Iowa, right? That's not resume builders. And so people aren't paying attention to you. But the back half of the stretch, when he had the first college football playoffs, it was the 12-team format, and they had to run the gamut, he showed up each and every single week. But DP, I don't want to cut our guys short, man. The day 3 wide receivers with upside, you got a couple names. I'm going to spit out a couple names. Also, I want to give our guys a shout out, though.
Well, for sure, man. I'm going to Arkansas. Isaac Teslaa, guy who had the Senior Bowl, caught people's eye at the Senior Bowl. He came in, being 6'4", 215 pounds, 31 1/8 on the arm, 10-inch hands, and at the combine, tested out, outstanding testing performance for him. 4.43 in the 40, 1.51 10-yard split, 39.5-inch vert, 10.9 broad, had 17 reps on the bench press. Ran a 4.05 short 20-yard short shuttle in a 6.85 3-cone. When I look at him, man, he is, and you look at that Arkansas offense, he is a power slot. Like they play him predominantly in the slot. And you're talking about being 6'4", 200 plus pounds, 214, 215, getting matched up on smaller nickels. He knows how to use his body against those guys down the field, mid-stem. He has the vertical speed, especially if you give him free releases. You see that kind of 4.4 speed. He can actually open that stride. He's a long strider as well. He can get up the speed and run past guys and work the seam vertically. He can run he's a very good horizontal route runner. Mesh concept, those over routes, the in cuts and daggers and things of that nature, shake routes in the middle of the field. He's really good at running those. He tracks the ball well, strong-handed, 10-inch hands. You better be strong-handed. You got 10 inches on the hands, man. Like you got he got some big mitts on him. Physical guy, you know what I mean? I think with him he's a developmental guy to me because you look at the size and the speed and the athletic testing, you're like, man, like you should be an X. But they didn't play him as such. It was Andrew Armstrong who was their X receiver at 6'4". I think he's like 213, another big body, long arm kid that could play on the outside. I think with him, he's a developmental guy. He's got to work on getting free from physical press coverage. He's too easily rerouted at the contact window and everything like that. He doesn't have that innate short area quickness at the line of scrimmage footwork wise to just 1-2 and I'm out of there. Like you want to see him just embrace your body type. Like you're a big physical receiver. I think if he can develop on the outside, you can get Alec Pierce out of him. I truly believe you can get an Alec Pierce type of receiver out of him. That vertical field stretcher, big body guy that can elevate, go at the catch point, grab it off the fridge, you know what I mean, and just make those rebound type of plays down the field. But also like in the quick game, when you see him get matched up against like some safeties and linebackers and stuff, he's got quickness out of the break, good enough quickness out of the break against those guys where he can win on those quick outbreakers. Option route, you don't see many big dudes running option routes, but he runs option routes as well out of the slot. And then those kind of double move stick nods in the middle of the field, he does that well too. I like him. I gave him like a fifth round grade. I think there's a developmental upside to him that if an NFL team gets him, puts him in their offense, like I said, we always talk about the floor. I know what the floor is. You're a power slot. I think there's upside for you to turn into a boundary receiver that can go one-on-one on the outside.
Yeah, DP. I'm gonna rattle off two names real quick. First, Kyle Williams from Washington State, a guy that
Yeah, man. Yes,
nobody
sir.
talks about. I think this guy is savvy. I think he knows how to run routes. He showed well at the
Mhm.
Senior Bowl. I think he can play some slot, but he can also give you some Z type of fields too. Just a relatively unknown name, but definitely if your team is looking for wide receivers, I think he's a guy that just understands how to play the wide receiver position, and that's just the intangibles and the things that you can't coach. I think he's
Yeah.
gonna come into a training camp and he should light it up, and people be like, I could see wide receiver coaches, OCs, and head coaches just being like, I just like this guy. And
Mhm.
so he's one name, and then the other name is LeJontay Wester, the wide receiver from Colorado. Another guy I don't think is getting enough credit and recognition.
Yeah.
I think he can run. I think he could push the field vertically, but also play that slot. But also the special teams value is through the
Yeah,
roof.
man.
We just seen. I mean, it's the Dallas Cowboys, right? But they paid Devontae Turpin a lot of money for special teams alone. So I think he can be a better version because he can be more of a wide receiver because he is a bigger frame than what the Devontae Turpin is. So that's the two guys I have as
I
day
like
three
that.
wide receivers that we need to put on our radar and kind of pay more attention to. But DP, it's coming up. I hope you're ready. I hope you're locked in. Like Coach O would say, tape your ankles, young man. Dame's dudes is coming up next. I'm about to put DP on the hot seat. Ask him which guys do he want to, is he going to let inside the club or which guys he's kicking out? Dame's dudes coming up next.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our every day. It's time for Dame's Dudes. And if you're new here, Keith has 5 2025 NFL Draft prospects that he's going to grill me on and put me in the hot seat. He's going to ask, are they in the club? Are they a Dame's Dudes? Or are they out? Let's get into it.
Yep, DP. We're gonna start this off. This is gonna be fairly easy. Because we're gonna start in your neck of the woods. And I'm gonna start with South Carolina linebacker Demetrius McKnight.
Yeah, Demetrius is in the club. I like him, man. Physical dude. We saw him at the Senior Bowl, and especially when in practice where you don't see guys get hit like full speed. He had a rep where I can't remember which running back it was, but his head wasn't on the swivel because Demetrius came and just gave him a nice little love tap with the shoulder. You heard the pop from the pads, and then you saw the running back go take a tumble. He's physical. He works well downhill. He blitzes. I think this guy, he's not the Jahad Campbell's that man cover like linebacker. I don't think he has that type of athleticism, but spot dropper in zone, getting to his spots 5 to 7 yards back, get to his landmarks, read everything. And when a hitter like him, you talking about running mesh concept and the quarterback throws a little too early and he triggers downhill, he's going to blow somebody's receiver up. Like he's going to make that secure tackle in the middle of the field and bring that guy down. I love his ability to get into the backfield as a run defender as well. Yeah, he's in the club.
Okay, cool. Let's go with Ole Miss cornerback Trey Amos.
Man, Trey Amos has been in the club for about 2 years now, man. Ever since he was at Bama. I like this kid's game a lot. He's physical, good height, speed, arm length, instinctive too. Like I was watching some tape. I can't remember which game it was, but it looked like he was playing cover 3 with like match principles, and I thought he was going to take the post. Mm-hmm. Like it's like kind of like high red, like at like the 30-yard line, and he passed the post off to the free safety, circled back to I think it was like a wheel route down the sideline, and he picked it off. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's the type of stuff that quarterbacks don't like. A guy that's willing to be like to really bait them into a throw, and that just shows instincts. He studies film. He knows what's coming. Different things like the communicating between the secondary members in the secondary. I think this dude, and he could play off and play zone, but he's super physical as a press man guy to where it's like, yeah, it's gonna be a fight. Like your receiver, yeah, just be prepared. He walks to that line of scrimmage. You gotta have your arms and your hands ready to kind of whatever he throws. Yeah, he's in the club, man. I like his game a lot.
Yep. All right. Well, let's keep going. Let's do Georgia Bulldogs safety Dan Jackson. Look like Kirby Smart in college, right? Kirby played at Georgia. Kirby Smart in college. That's who we got. Dan Jackson, is he in the club, out of the club?
He's out. I think he's gonna be Kirby. He's gonna be a good Kirby Smart coach. I think that's what he's gonna be. Now that was too. No, I athletic. He's got good instincts. Tackling is such a problem with Dan Jackson. Like, he does not tackle that well in space. Watching the Bama game, he's triggering downhill. He's getting to the spot. He's getting stiff arm into the ground. He's not wrapping guys up. I think he had Jalen Milroe dead to rights on the QB zone read, and Jalen just ran through the tackle. And I'm like, this is not going to work in the NFL. You know what I mean? And he had a good Senior Bowl. He tested well at his pro day. I gave him a fifth, like a mid day 3 pick. He's got to clean some tackling up before he becomes a Danes dude, because I think PFF charged him for like almost 20 tackles missed in 2024. Like, he missed a lot of tackles on tape. Yeah,
that's crazy. All right, let's go with Indiana quarterback Curtis Rourke.
If you asked me in the season, when the season was going, he would have been a Dames dude. He was
definitely in on him. He was definitely in on him.
I was, yeah, he's not a Dames dude now. For a guy like him, like how we've been doing the building a scheme thing, it's tough to build an offense, in my opinion, around a guy like that who has very little to no mobility. And like, so it's like in the NFL, when you know that you're going to get simulated pressures and different things of that nature, you got to have your quarterback has to have somewhat of an answer at some point. Even Brock Purdy has somewhat of an answer. Like, he's quick twitch the way he can make a guy miss and get out the pocket a little bit. Curtis Rourke, good. I think his arm talent is okay. He's accurate, tall dude, can see over the line. He can be that prototypical pocket passer. But there's not many of those that are actually working in the NFL right now. You got to have that. You got to have that change up. You got to have something else to throw at the defense, and he doesn't have that, so he's not a Dames dude.
Yep. All right, let's wrap this up with Illinois wide receiver Pat Bryant.
So, similar to Curtis Rourke in the season, I like Pat Bryant a lot. And then we get to the draft cycle. Man, that 4.62 was tough to watch. I was like, dang it, you could give me 4.55. Give me 4.55, big fella. I would be like, you know what, I'm good. 4.62 is tough. I do think there's a path for him. He might be more of a power slot in the next level. But in this wide receiver class, where you got big guys like Jaden Higgins running 4.47, and even Trey Harris was a 4.54 dude. You know what I mean? Out of Ole Miss, like, you got some big receivers that's just faster, more athletic than he is, and better route runners. Yeah, he's not a Dames dude, man. In the season, he probably would have been, but right now he's not.
Well, DP, I get it, man. We was tough on the guys this week. We was tough on the guys. I think we only went one. No, we went 2 for 4. We started off hot and then tailed off at the end. But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. Every listener is greatly appreciated here over at Locked On NFL Draft. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow me on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Guys, coming up on tomorrow's show, we're going to build the offensive scheme. We're going to build a scheme around Miami quarterback Cam Ward. What if he goes to Tennessee? Does he fit Brian Callahan's scheme? We're going to get into the tape and tell you about that and more on tomorrow's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.